This is Aaron, and I am coming to you today with a white pine that is new to my collection. Nothing spectacular, but certainly has some promise, some potential. I just got this in the fall, in September, and I have done nothing to it in the fall and through the winter, and I did repot it. Didn't change the pot, but took it out and got a root pruning and got it in a better soil mix because the soil that it was in prior was, well, it was dirt, and it had been in that very fine, poor draining soil for over a decade by the previous owner's recollection, without being repotted. So when I repotted this tree and took it out of the pot, I found that there were roots that were winding round and round the pot, and in fact I cut a root off of here that was nearly 15 feet long. Made me very nervous, for sure, to have to cut such long roots off of a plant like this, but it had to get a root mass that was back inside some healthy soil, and I am happy to say that the growth this spring is coming out okay. So if we look here, we can see the new growth coming out the center there. It's very nice. We've got last year's needles here, still looking green and vibrant, doing their job. The 2-year-old needles we can see here, you can tell the color is very different, so we may be pulling many of those off. The needles that are kind of yellowing compared to this bright white reflective needle that we have here from last year. So we can see that distinction very clearly. Current year growth, 1-year-old growth, 2-year-old growth, and possibly some of this is older. Well, here's the problem that I'm dealing with today. We have a number of these tips that have growing tips on them that are nice and healthy, but even right next to this one, we have an example of what had been left as a branch, a separate tip, but there is no new growth on this. This is all old needles and no bud. And so this is an example of a place on this tree where this branch really has no hope of growing and needs to be removed. Well, the problem is that I have those all over the tree. I've got strong, healthy growing tip here and 2 growing tips right next to it with no new growth on them. The same thing happens at the crown. No buds at this one. A nice healthy one here. So I need to go through and clean out and remove these growing tips that have no buds on them, and we got to see how far back that takes us, how far back that sets this tree. So let's see what we end up with.